Click here to start streaming. You are live. Welcome to the first Bankless DAO book club session. This is Wish's weekly book club.
Hello, hello.
Click here to start streaming.
Just coming out of a running workout, so just need a second to prepare. I imagine we're gonna have some lurkers join us in a moment, so we'll give it another minute or two, and then we'll go kick it off.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go to the book club channel and upvote the gm.xyz post about the book club, there's a nice link there for you. We post in the GM community in their events channel. And eventually I'll be posting there more than like 15 minutes before the book club.
Hey, that happens. Alrighty, so quick recap of last week. So starting a series of book club sessions where we'll be focusing on different topics for a set amount of period. So the first session we decided to work on or to discuss was related to crime on crypto, or crime using crypto on chain. And so we went through the 2022 Chainalysis report, Crime 22 report. Chainalysis is a research / information analysis company. They work typically with government organizations and exchanges and those that do business on the crypto side, traditional crypto stuff for the most part, to be able to go track on-chain activity. So for any crime that happens, in order to go have people be more compliant related to regulations and sanctions, they provide additional information in their APIs and such. So that's about Chainalysis. We focus on their crime report, which they put out. They separate into separate categories, discussing different types of crimes that occurred. That could be ransomware, that could be NFT, wash trading, that could be even going to a little bit of discussions with the nation state levels where they talked about the trends of crime related to certain countries. In last week's discussion, we got into some of the more in-depths about how we felt about Chainalysis and companies like Chainalysis, which provide tools that allow people to conduct on-chain activity. We had discussions on both sides about people in favor of Chainalysis working with regulators, and those that were opposed to it. So at Book Club, we are very open to different perspectives and being able to allow each of us to become more knowledgeable on a topic. And with that was our overview for what happened last week. So this week, we'll be focusing a little bit more on some of those crime-related topics and trying to go and discuss some of the hacks in particular and potential safety and risk mitigations that individuals can attempt to can attempt to do for themselves in their pursuits of being on chain or with the Bankless mission of creating self-sovereign individuals. With that, um, would anybody like to kick off the discussion with any points they want to bring up in the beginning that maybe they didn't bring up last week? I take that as a no. So I will go and start the round robin. So related to, I guess I wanted to focus on the DeFi crimes in particular. So what we noticed is a growing trend of just crypto adoption as a whole. So as crypto adoption grew over 2021, so did the volume of illicit activity that was tracked by companies like Chainalysis or by law enforcement. So, but with that, when you separate just the volume number to what is the percentage of tracked illicit activity to just legitimate activity, we noticed a huge downtrend. Well, I don't want to say trend. We noticed a huge downturn in terms of more people that were adopting crypto, but crime usage decreased. At least in terms of percentage wise. So as we noticed, there was greater and larger hacks that existed for hundreds of millions of dollars potentially. We saw that in some of the bridge hacks that we noticed. I think that was more 2022, but activities like that were, or even related to the, I'm gonna quickly jump, but like related to the Axie Infinity hack, where over $600 million dollars worth of crypto was stolen and uh, being attributed to a nation state. So as we're seeing a greater trend of larger, more complicated hacks, it's interesting trying to compare that to some of the scams that may be existing. Question for the group is, just from your own anecdotal experiences, if you can state like how long you've been in crypto and how soon have you noticed any sort of scams that may have occurred, either that you've known of or you first heard about that? Like, I'd be interested to see how soon people noticed any sort of illicit activity in their crypto journey.
Can share. So actually, it happened recently. I bought the Surge NFT, which Surge is like a Web3 community that provides like education, whose mission is to onboard more women into Web3. So basically, their target audience is people who aren't really knowledgeable about, who are new into the crypto space. So I'm not that new because I've been hearing a lot about scams and I've been on Discord frequently. I'm able to really like spot them. I'm suspicious of everything. So what ended up happening is that I was having problems minting their NFT through their website, and a scammer had seen it on the post of mine and had contacted me directly. And the thing what like was cool about Surge is that within their Discord they created a ticketing system, so like nobody would be contacting people directly. But for a brief second, I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, oh, maybe it was their due diligence or something like that. So I was having a conversation with this person, and they were just basically like, oh, I noticed that we had a problem. Follow this link, and then you can like bridge your, your wallet. It's like on your end. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, I only feel comfortable really buying, because I don't buy NFTs frequently, buying NFTs on their website when I'm going to mint something. And then I was having a conversation in the ticketing system with like a person who's actually from the team. And I told that person on my DMs, I was like, oh, somebody's already helping me. And they still weren't responsive and like pushing it. And I just did my due diligence and went on the website to see who the team names were. That person's name didn't fit any of the team members. And so then like, I don't know why I was like, then I realized it was a scam. But then I was like, this is a scam. Either way, I wasn't going to do whatever they asked me to do. Because I just like remember if you're going to do a live mint and they're minting from their website, they're not going to take you anywhere else. But I think it's also, I just learned a lot about Discord hygiene beforehand, and that's what kind of protected me. But for others, I think like 6 months ago, I probably would have clicked it.
That's really fascinating. Just seeing, like, it seemed almost like it was, like, I wonder how many people they DM'd, because it seems like they actually were having conversations with you, from the way that you said it. And so instead of just being like, hey, buy this thing, like they were purposely misleading you. Like, I wonder how many people just like you in that server were having conversations with individuals like that, and how many people may have actually potentially have gotten scammed and didn't alert it. Was there any actions that were taken place after you identified them to protect any of the Discord members, or did you just stop right there once you learned it was a scam and just blocked them or something?
The people in Discord, like, hey, this person reached out to me based on this scenario, and then I just deleted it, and I didn't have their name, and they're like, what's the name? And I was like, oh, I think it was like, I don't know, Holly something. I didn't remember the name, but I described what the profile photo was, and they probably obviously changed it. But then I also told them, like, make sure, like, don't respond to any direct DMs. Like, it's a live mint right now. There's still tons of NFTs on their website. Like, make sure you do this. Make sure you use their ticketing system. So I was just basically reiterating the information but for a brief second, because I was just so stressed that it wasn't working, like, I would have lost my brain and just would have clicked, if that makes any sense, right? Like, even the smartest people well-versed in this environment, like, when they're trying to go through FOMO of buying an NFT, you're like, your what is it called? Your sense goes off. Like, yeah, your common sense is gone.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Someone else, what any other scam stories out there? Whether you directly or someone else that you know?
I'm just surprised how incredibly relentless it's become. Like, so much of this is coming back to identity and secure communication, and people gaming those systems to gain trust over people to fall for different attacks. And, it's like you're trying to use Discord to get information on all your projects, and I'm not saying it has to be thrown in the garbage, but obviously there's just so much going on there that is incredibly dodgy, and even Twitter has issues keeping their platform clean. And I've seen on Facebook, like, full on advertising campaigns to false websites for NFTs. I was using Microsoft Edge, well, still am, but to test out like how a stereotypical Microsoft user would enter crypto. And when I used Bing to search for MetaMask, the first thing that showed up was a fake MetaMask browser extension that wants to get you to give up your secure phrase, or I mean your recovery key. And it's just brutal, like how bad it is right now for people that don't know what they're doing. It's so easy for them to get scammed, and it does scare people because again, talking to family members, and they ask me, are there a lot of scams? I'm like, oh yeah, but if you know what you're doing, it's not so bad. And they're like, yeah, no. So it's a hard sell that way because the internet's just so full of people trying to game the system, and what we try to use as sources of truth are being polluted with these attacks. And it's not just email anymore; it's across the board.
Yeah. Like quick tangent related to some of the points that you made. Like the early days of the internet, people were really shooting for having anonymous names, not really doing face reveals, like trying to separate their own personal identity. And there are plenty of scams now, but plenty of scams in the early days of the internet as well, where people just didn't know better, like telling people not to click phishing links and stuff like that. Like that's only been really well educated over the past decade or so. But even then, like you're starting to see a trend from random sketchy websites and people not showing their names and identities to a big surge where people have been knowingly doxing themselves, going to more trusted websites. Like, okay, like I feel comfortable shopping online, like on Amazon or Walmart or whatever, or eBay. And then you're seeing a trend back towards like anonymity of some sort. So it's weird seeing that culture clash right now. I did want to share, just because I focus so much on some of the more higher end scams related to Web3, but also starting to see the blend of like traditional Web2 or just traditional scams that may exist that bleed into some of the different projects. Like I remember I was in a Discord. It was for a shit coin. It was one of those dog coins when the dog coin craze was going on. And I was like, okay, like I'll throw some money into some of these dog coins and see if I could go and make some money. And I got lucky on some of them, but like, well, what's interesting is there's one project in particular where like you had a pretty dedicated team. They're still building to this day, which is surprising. But they had somebody that they modded, just a random anon, and the anon said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go make a website to go and sell merchandise like T-shirts and hoodies, and like it was a legit website. You put in your credit card information, whatever, and they're gonna go ship it. And they had these interesting like, yeah, the first 10 people who purchase a hoodie at this or purchase an item at this time could potentially get all of their money back and get a free item or something like that. So that led to a mass rush of people trying to purchase it. Long behold, this person actually rugged the project, and so they were just accepting all these funds from different credit card numbers and addresses, and then they just weren't delivering on any of the merchandise. They weren't answering any texts or whatever. And so the project team had to do some damage control. So it's interesting seeing even projects that are attempting to legitimize themselves when they're operating with potential anons. How do you create? How do you add trust to a trustless approach in this decentralized models that we're approaching? It's definitely interesting. I threw in a lot of buzzwords into that sentence, but essentially just boiling it down to how can we build trust with random people on the internet and feel secure. I think we're on a trend to getting there, but we still got a long way. I'll pause for someone else if they want to share a little scam story, and then see if we could do that. Yeah, go ahead. Whoever's next.
I can share one. So I have my own experience is that I tried to mint. I went to an NFT server. When the server's admin actually was hacked, so they basically put a false announcement, a fake announcement. There's like a discount. You need to mint, buy sometime. I just click the link without the double check if the link is it's very similar to the official website, but just like add something, the prefix is different. So I purchased that, tried to mint the NFT, and then after my ETH was transferred out, I checked my wallet, I get nothing. So I thought that's maybe I have to wait, but then after a few minutes it's still not there. So I checked the Discord again. So there's a few people complaining about not receiving the NFT. Then we found out the admin account was hacked. So to me it's like for individual in Web3, more like those hacks happening in the NFT world. And on DeFi side, it seems like more protocol were hacked. So it seems that there's like a different trends. Seems to me. Yeah. So also, I don't know if you guys heard that last week there's two big hack cases happening. One is the near protocol, their Rainbow Bridge. So the hacker tried to break into the Rainbow Bridge by hacking their something. But anyway, so they have their team found it and they sent out a flash transaction. So and then their some sort of autobot detect the transaction and then execute the flash transaction. So to preventing the hacking. So that hack was not successful, and the other was the Rari pool, which lost a lot of money. And luckily, the bank styles was not impact. So yeah, it seems every week there at least one case. So it seems that a lot of people should be worried about the security issue, in Web3.
You bring up a great point. So you brought up multiple great points. So first, like having a hack done at the Discord level, and then we're seeing hacks being done at different. I want to say points of a potential kill chain across the different protocols. So whether it might be all on-chain or off-chain, seeing these scams occur at at all levels, it's truly complicated to try to go and try to manage your attack surface at all fronts. And so, like, definitely interested for the second half of the conversation, to talk about some of the safety that we can do at the minimum. But and I'll go ahead, Special Agent K.
Well, and I think that's, where people fail to realize, like, this isn't just a technical problem, and if you, not that I'm like a hardcore hacker or anything like that, but if you look at like areas of study, social engineering is very much part of what they do. And, it isn't always, having that magic tool that bypasses something that gets them in. Like, you'd be amazed at what some of these people do just on personality alone. And yeah, and that's where you get these personalities that establish trust that maybe shouldn't be getting trust, and basically bring that risk that people don't always think about in the whole equation is people.
Actually, I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? Because one of the things that I found coming into DeFi or Web3 is that I don't know anything. I'm not a developer, and I'm not sure how to do some simple tasks, like go into a protocol and do something. And when you ask for help, you're willing to listen to anybody that's going to be able to help you, which is what Special Agent K is talking about, the social engineering. You need help, but in Web3 there isn't a specific place for help, like MetaMask. If something's wrong with MetaMask, who do you go to? How do you know the token that you're actually entering into MetaMask is the correct token or not? There's nobody to teach you. You go into YouTube, and can you trust every single YouTuber? But then you need trust, and it's so difficult and scary in this world, in this space, I think.
I know. I was on a Twitter space 2 days ago, and there's this NFT in my wallet I really want to burn, and I was told, don't burn your NFTs, even if they're sketchy, because the contract might execute something on transfer that'll totally wreck your wallet. I'm like, well, that's awesome. Like, I don't know if that's for sure 100% true, but now I have to go figure out, like, what can I do with these sketchy assets that people send me, because people can send you them, and they're in your wallet, and now you basically, they're little radioactive things in your wallet you shouldn't touch.
Exactly. I mean, I have things in my MetaMask, and how do you say? I read somewhere that people send you things exactly like you said, right? So I'm terrified now, to look at all that I have. And then you're tempted to, aren't you? Because you think, maybe it's good, maybe it's got money. You're so tempted to click it, but the other side is saying, don't. It's just too scary. Even if it's money, just leave it. And
Yeah,
it's not that easy to leave.
I tried to read the contract, and I'm like, this looks sketchy. Like, it's designed not to be easy to read. So I know there's something of no good inside. But, like, I can't ask somebody to, well, I could, I guess. But I mean, like, there's no real support desk I can go call and be like, well, what's this thing in my wallet? Is it going to, like, harm me?
But even
And I
so, like, oh, go ahead, Quiet Fox.
No, exactly like what Special Agent K said, right? That's the problem that's going to, from moving from Web 2 to Web 3, because you need to trust yourself. You don't have a help desk. It's like wallets. If you have a problem with, like, if you've lost your seed phrase, that's it. There is nobody that you can go to. So it's like you need to be responsible and autonomous and aware, but it's not easy. I mean, especially Agent K, you're talking about going into a contract and reading it. I don't have a clue how to even do that, and that's scary.
Yeah, like 100%. So like related to crypto contracts, um, like there's different types of scams that exist where you might have a slow rug pull that's not easily identifiable. Instead of just having a group or individual just grab a bunch of ETH or something that they've acquired from sales and running away. There's more sophisticated attacks that may exist. Like for example, with potential inflation tokens, where it might go and have a certain number of tokens go towards the contract to get burned, and some of the liquidity gets pulled. Um, but it's done at such a slow and unnoticeable rate that you're seeing, okay, the token is going down, but is it going down because people are selling it, or is it going down due to something greater? And it's so hard to be able to discern those individual projects, especially when you're trying to move at the rate of Web3, where if you don't ape into a project today, you could potentially miss the train and not be able to sell quickly and make some of your make some of your profits. And so just people taking advantage of that ape in culture or that fear of missing out culture for their own personal gain, like, oh my gosh, like trying to navigate it all, like it it's impossible for any individual to be immune in the Web3 space right now. If you're saying you've never been scammed, or you've never been part of a rug pull, or you've never been any of these things, either you're buying just the top 10 assets and you aren't buying anything else, you're not truly active in the space, or um, you just haven't realized that you got at some point. I'm very convinced on on those two options. But yeah, protecting yourself not only at the people level, but the technological level, even the organization wide level. It's there's so many potential avenues of attack. I'm gonna pause here, and then I have another point to potentially bring up.
Well, and I like to pick on the NFT space right now because, I see a lot of projects that are being launched, and, how many of them really truly do fail. And to further complicate that, you have people that are just coming in and they're publishing just like, yeah, it's art and stuff, but it's just essentially worthless projects, and just to collect money from people. And it's this weird machine that just drives this hype where people are aping into random things. And I guess it happens with tokens as well, but it's just that, a lot of these projects are totally harebrained, and like, will they have any value? Like, what is the real intent of the team? Who is the team? Like, and this is where identity comes back into play again, and trust, because I think people want to find investments in that space, but they're having a hard time finding trust in the system, I guess. Just finding a project that's not going to rug them, and and it's a difficult market because the prices, even on blue chip NFTs, can vary so much. And I even had a project called out as a rug, but they say they're not a rug, which is an honestly weird position to be in. My NFTs haven't gone to zero, but they have gone down significantly in value. And so I find it kind of interesting when someone like Rug Pull Finder will call somebody out as a rug, yet they're still operating. Discord's going, Instagram's still posting.
You mean there is a website where you can find where they tell you that it's a rug pull?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll get the link for folks, but I
Oh,
really
okay.
do think that Rug Pull Finder is amazing. It's a simple subscription service where you pay for a subscription to be part of the community. They'll basically vet things and publish that research to their community, and then they publish some stuff publicly, and it's just a group of people that have a method for doing their own research on projects and getting through the weeds, right? Verifying whether the people actually exist and are doxable, or you know
Oh, that sounds interesting. I did not know about that.
I'll get the link.
But
Yeah, it's difficult trying to figure out how to navigate between, like, as Special Agent K, like, is the team intentionally rugging? Did they just lose steam and start giving up? So when you have like a traditional brick and mortar store, like, you could see somebody move in, you could see business failed, it shuts down, and then someone else probably takes up that real estate spot.
yeah.
Entirely Web3, like, software based, like, no legal entity backing project is just they spawn up a Discord server, they market to whatever marketing mechanisms they want to use, and then they spin down, and you don't know if they just disappear or if they just lost steam or what. Like, it's definitely difficult trying to navigate that space.
It is. And, basically they got laid out as part of a serial rug pull operation. And, basically the way it was all laid out, these guys were just one step away from being a legitimate operation. It's just they had no real intention of running a long-term operation.
Special Agent K, one thing you said about the NFT, right, is that yes, there are so many people out there selling NFTs, which is basically pictures of, remember this thing about this Indonesian guy that sold pictures of himself every year for I don't know how many years, and he sold that out. And I'm thinking, okay, fine, he made a lot of money, but how can somebody else resell that picture? And I keep thinking, where is the value going to come from? It's just, it's a terrible thing to say, but it's just a JPEG without a community. And people will FOMO in because they think that it's something that's worth having. I'm scared about NFTs, to be really honest. I've tried to go into that space, and I think even Ernest will tell you, I've not done anything on NFTs because I'm just terrified of the space.
Well, you'll get the your first NFT can be the Notion Ninja NFT that's going to be coming out shortly.
Yay.
Something that I don't think many people have talked about, and something so far I have a perfect batting average for potential hacks that can occur and have occurred. So I've been a fortune teller a little bit. I will pat myself on the back and stroke my ego. But something I've been thinking about is some like themes brought up, like looking at the website and trusting the website. Trying to do some background information on the project and trying to do some additional research to see if person they were messaging was legitimate. So, like when you're interfacing with purely the front end website, you haven't seen like I don't know how many projects are actually investing in a traditional web server security to actually make sure like, hey, is my site vulnerable to basic script kiddie attacks? Can someone with like intro level pen testing course go into my website, change some of the buttons, so instead of interacting with the legitimate contract, shifting it to go to a malicious contract? I haven't seen that yet. I'll be interested to know if anybody else has seen that. But I definitely think that's a potential vulnerability that hasn't been leveraged or at least advertised much. But something I've been concerned is. Oh, we're going to say something special, Agent K?
Yeah, I don't know if it was Uniswap, but someone had Cloudflare hacked, so they used the CDN to redirect to a different contract.
Yeah, so like just traditional like OSI stack, maybe a little bit higher in terms of like CDNs or networking stuff. Like as we continue to build onto Web3, like Web3 is still very much dependent on the infrastructure beneath it, right? In one way or another. And we can continue to protect ourselves in that way, but as we continue to build up, we have to accept the vulnerabilities at all the way from the application level to the hardware level, and every step in between. So definitely looking out for the different types of attacks and scams that may be coming out, and it's only a matter of time before some of us get got until there's more regulation and maturity in the space. Yeah, I'll pause for there and then maybe shift towards risk mitigation and security practices.
Can I ask, Crypto Dad, exactly how did the Rari pool hack take place? What exactly happened?
I thought it's using a flash loan. That I forgot. It seems that it use flash loan control. I have to check because there are so many hack cases recently. I think my brains mix them up. So I'll check and post it in the channel later.
Yeah, no problems.
I don't know much about like how it happened, but apparently it only affected pools where you could borrow. Well, like so since you can't borrow bank from the Rari pool that we have, our pool wasn't affected, but potentially one of the other your the ones that were affected were somehow pools where tokens were able to be borrowed. With some flash loan magic.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Like even talking about the Rari pool, even for bank, there was one point in time where was it USDC or DAI? There was 300% returns. And I'm looking at it thinking, this can't be true. And yet people made money out of it. And I know it's come down now. I think it's about 100 or something, but even 100, it is amazing that you can make that sort of a return. And yet there are people borrowing the same die from the Rari pool at 300 and whatever percent. There's no logic to that. And yet people make money. So it's almost like you need to know what you're doing, or you need to be a risk taker. But if you try to follow people and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get, what you call it, not scammed, but you're going to lose everything because you don't know what you're doing. And to know things like the Rari pool, you need to know a lot of knowledge.
Do your own research only goes as far as how well do you understand the research and able to discern the information that's already out there, right?
So
Um,
true that. So true.
yeah, if everyone goes to the same couple of websites to do their own research and the website turns out to be false, then everyone's out of luck, right? uh, that's great.
But
I
that,
wanted to go share. Oh, go ahead.
no, sorry. I just want to say that it is human nature to want to make money, to want to think that, hey, this is good, I'm going to take it as it lasts, and I don't care if other people are doing it, I'm going to do it. It is just human nature to want to get something.
Yeah, 100%. So we're at the 45-minute mark. So I want to go talk about security and what we can do. We can't talk about crimes and hacks and all these different things if we don't attempt to try to protect ourselves. Discussions like these are extremely important because we've been able to identify some of the unique and common trends that we've seen ourselves, and some of the big uh, the big events that make major headlines. There's so many things that occur under the radar that we maintain to ourselves and isn't shared. So thanks everyone for sharing that information. So we've talked about trends from Discord, social engineering, to people being insider threats on legitimate projects and stealing credit card information and funds, to some of the big ticket items, well, not big ticket items, big ticket hacks like the Rari pool and the near protocol bridge hack attempt, and then so much more in between. That's just to recap. So what can we do to protect ourselves? I think at the minimum, at the most basic level, I think being able to segregate our digital assets for on-chain interactions is probably the simplest step that we can take, that anyone can do. So being able to divide their wallets into multiple separate, not even using the same seed phrase, and using that to be able to interact with some of the protocols. Is that perfect? By no means it's not. It is not perfect. Like if you potentially go onto a malicious site and you get a virus or some sort of malware or ransomware or something along that, like that wouldn't protect you. But at the bare minimum, it at least protects you if you interact with a bad transaction or a contract, that your risk is at least mitigated to just the wallet you interacted with. I think that's the first step. The second piece, a little bit more technical, is using a device that's dedicated to just your crypto activity. Whether it might be through a virtual instance of using virtual machines, or whether that might be using different hardware entirely. Keeping your normal banking and your normal um, bills and all that other stuff, keeping your personal life separate from your Web3 transactions, I think is extremely important. Is it practical? Not always. Like it sucks having to have multiple devices that you have to lug around and protect, but it's sometimes that additional paranoia and lead and uh tinfoil thinking is important.
What do you,
Um,
may I?
yeah, go ahead.
And also, sorry for coming in late. This is literally the meeting I was waiting for all week, and I just, the time flew by. So, what do you recommend as Web3 and Web2 fiat and crypto merge and doxing and the tie in of legal and quote gray area operations and virtual networks and real networks, however meta you want to get with that, like at some point we have to cross those lines. And, like City DAO and these other groups have to, even Bankless have to establish different levels of, we'll say, legal entities in order to process transactions. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here. It's going to take time. There's no easy answer, but, like, get what I'm saying? At some point, you have to just cross the line, open the door.
Yeah, like I'm not sure if there was a question in there. But if I'm interpreting what you're saying, you're just discussing just the different moments of intersection between Web3 and the normal world where KYC might exist or businesses, and just bringing up that point. Is that correct?
More or less. I do believe that I had gotten attacked and ostensibly like doxxed. It wasn't my choice. And so it was like, well, do I own that? And here we go. Or, just be like, oh gosh, what happened? Terror, cry over spilt milk or whatever. So I see that occurring, and I'm kind of standing back, watching more and more people go from anon to the opposite end of the same coin, which is completely open. And I think that's the beauty of Web3 and the metaverse. So I believe what you're saying, and like the protection is 100% necessary, but opposite side of the same coin is also protection in all eyes on. If somebody's being a bully, everybody look, this person's being a bully. Are you going to be a bully with everybody watching? That's the difference, I think.
Yeah, we're seeing that argument. Well, I don't want to say argument, but we're seeing that discussion being taken place not just on Web3 but Web2 as a whole, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just like you're having people that might be anonymous on their YouTubes or on Twitter or whatever social media, and potentially getting doxxed unwillingly, having people blackmail them, saying, "Hey, I will reveal this embarrassing information that I discovered about you."
Right.
Yeah, like definitely seeing that all over. But again, that's going to like some of the risk protections that one can do, right? Like if you're operating in this space, there's going to be some level of KYC, some level of doxing, whether it might be to a centralized exchange like a Coinbase, like a Binance, to your own personal government, like for taxes and other such.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's still going to exist. So how much can you protect yourself, right? That kind of goes back to like even separating not only like your wallet, separating your main operating devices for crypto and the traditional world, or even separating at just different levels of internal segregation to try to mitigate that. But at some degree, you have to choose what level of risk are you willing to accept, right? And that question is going to be different for everyone.
Open question. I'm sorry to take airtime again because I know I came in late and I don't mean to be rude.
No, that's okay. Ernest has actually recorded the session. I think we're on. What's the site that you're recording this for, Ernest?
We're just live streaming over my YouTube. I just moved to Utah and have new internet speeds, which are good enough for streaming. So eventually, once I get some scenes cut up for book club, then I'll probably get permission to just stream this over um, the the DAO YouTube. So, and
Great.
I love your questions. I would like to say I think like Bitcoin is sneaky. Bitcoin introduced an idea that maybe it's better to not cheat, and that there's ways to design, you know, interesting mechanics for cooperation. And prior to Bitcoin, you didn't have a global test of that. We've just had, you know, centralization and more centralization and more, you know, small groups of people controlling the game and the referees, and then just letting the rest of us, you know, like pick our team in sport, but never really have control of the game. And Bitcoin introduced a new game that scales, and I think that that will change the dominant culture that is kind of like, you know, a breeding ground for parasitic behavior. So I think once parasitic behavior at large is like no longer a fun game to play, because there's better games, more real life games than just like crypto games. But I think that's fundamentally the like shift that I see having like a simple but profound impact over time.
I think I really want to dive into this topic, but I know we're coming close to the top of the hour. But like I'll just tack on to that slightly. Like we're definitely the incentive approach of being like, hey, it's better to go follow on chain, like what's being a legitimate actor than to go against the grain to try to benefit for yourself. I think that's definitely acceptable at different levels of like how secure and how that works. But we're even starting to see that not necessarily a one for one example of that, but even with companies like Circle who operate USDC, where they're able to go and freeze some of their coins to be like, hey, like this was part of a hack. We've identified it. These are no longer legitimate. So even seeing how that can relate to some of like the KYC portions, be like, hey, this person has been attributed to being a malicious person. They own these tokens which are frozen. So like any other tokens that's associated with this person, like freeze those as well. So we could see some level of cooperation, but not necessarily what exactly was envisioned with the Bitcoin white paper. But that's the beauty of technology innovation, right? Like you take the concept and philosophies and ideologies that you agree with, and you manipulate them and change them and adapt them to what's relevant for today to get what's done. Um, I know we're at the top of the hour now. I wanted to do round robin and see if anyone had any closing thoughts that they wanted to share. I'll start with Crypto Dad. Any closing thoughts for the group?
Oh, I don't have close out, but I just want to continue the discussion. That's a very interesting topic. Thank you.
New World.
Nope, I'm good. This is great. Thank you. I'll have to watch the recording.
Awesome. Quiet Fox, anything from you?
Actually, it will be interesting to continue the discussion, like Crypto Dad said, because I'm interested to find out how many wallets do people have? I mean, or do you just use one wallet for everything? Should you have more than one wallet as a security, how do you say, backup? Is a question I'd like to explore.
Yeah, we could definitely go more into that topic as well. Special Agent K.
Yeah, I'm good for now. But yeah, I think it'd be good that we go and talk about like some of the practices we may be adopting or have adopted as a result of some of this stuff. And yeah, definitely number of wallets is probably an interesting question.
32 plus 90.
And then Ernest, anything you want to close out with?
No, I was interested in hearing New World's question if they remembered it. And I do have a different wallet for every blockchain. Um, question is how many accounts do you want to set up in MetaMask? And then I've thought about using Microsoft Edge and setting up a Microsoft wallet, a MetaMask wallet on that, so that I had a completely separate, additional MetaMask wallet. Um,
Yeah, I want to actually give a quick answer to Firefox. I think, for people staying long enough in the crypto world, they would have I would say at least like a dozen of wallets, because you need, first of all, different public chain, right? You need different wallets. Second is sometimes you want to have a clean wallet to do something. Basically, you don't want to show other transaction not related to this, for this purpose. So, for example, if you want to sit on the multi-sig of BDAO's guild, and then you want to really create a new wallet, and then transfer the ether from the centralized exchange. So in that wallet, there's no other transaction for your personal, other business or or sales purchase. So that's give you better protection for your privacy. Many people are doing that. So yeah, hope this help.
Yes, thank you.
well, and then what I'm bad at is like, I have, yeah, like I still don't have a ledger. I don't have a hardware wallet.
Oh my.
Yeah,
I'm up to 3 and a spare.
I got I got an Atomic desktop wallet that's like my hollow wallet that that I can put different coins in, but it can't hold all the different Ethereum coins. I don't think. It can just hold Ethereum.
Which hardware wallet do you recommend? If you want to say, I don't know if that's.
I would just say, like, I wish they made the ledgers a little bit more durable. Not that they break, but ledger is usually what all the developers target first. But you'll see when you buy it, you can buy it with lots of memory or less memory. And if you're going to do primarily EVM stuff, you probably don't need a lot of memory. But if you're going to do lots of experimentation with different blockchains, you have to load them as apps onto the ledger, and that eats up memory. So if you're going to play with lots of non-EVM blockchains, then you might want the one with more memory, which I think is what is that? The X or the N? Oh, geez, yeah, not the S. The S is the small one, I think.
Alrighty, guys. Well, thanks for attending this week. Ernest, if you want to close out the live stream, feel free. For anyone that wants to continue the conversation, they can. I'm going to bounce. I appreciate the conversation. It seems like we're having an request for an encore. So our 2-week session is now a 3-week session. Thanks everyone for coming. Definitely appreciate all the perspectives, insights. So next week we'll be focusing more on some of the security questions and security discussion of what some of you guys are doing, and maybe that one's gonna be an interesting one to try to discuss, especially for live streaming. Maybe we don't want to reveal all of our dirty little laundry to the world. But alrighty, guys, it was great talking to you. I'll see you next week, same time. Bye bye.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.